Hello everyone, I'm back and today we're building a Cotswold rental cottage. And this is actually a build that is inspired by somewhere that I stayed on the weekend, which is kind of fun. I wasn't planning on doing this, but when I was staying there, I just thought, you know what? This is what we're going to build this week. And it was so lovely. And yeah, just very big though. You'll see it's very big and long. And the thing with making things making a build which is kind of inspired off of somewhere real. I mean, I guess most builds are inspired off of something you've seen or some kind of inspiration, that I always find you can never recreate it as well in The Sims, just because of obviously when we build something's built in real life, especially if it's built a long time ago, it just has those really nice quirks and it just works. Whereas, I don't know, I find in The Sims, for example, if there's a wall which has lots of windows or a wall which has no windows, it can look a little bit off. And this is definitely one of those times where there's just so many windows on the front of this building. But a lot of them get covered with greenery and stuff, which kind of makes it a bit better. But yeah, so it's inspired. It's pretty similar to where I stayed, but not fully, just because some things I just feel that's going to look a little silly. But yeah, so we were at a wedding on the weekend in the Cotswolds, and my husband was actually a groomsman. And because the venue was stunning, but it was sort of in the middle of nowhere. There was nowhere really nearby, no accommodation nearby. So the groom actually rented this cottage, which was obviously fairly close, but yeah, rented this cottage so that all of the groomsmen and their partners could stay there after the wedding, which I thought was really, really nice and really, really cool. So yeah, it's actually a really big cottage, especially considering where it was. So it was on this sort of small little road with lots of little houses that were, all attached to one another. And I don't want to say a mini high street, but it was definitely a really small town, I guess a village. And yeah, this cottage just kind of appears, it just sort of expands. You kind of don't really notice it. Then you look down the driveway and it's just got so much land. It's the biggest driveway I've ever seen. And it was somewhere so remote. Do you know what I mean? But not just in the middle of nowhere. So obviously there would be loads of space somewhere where there's amongst lots of buildings that were built a long time ago. So yeah, it's just crazy that they had all this space, but it works really well for this cottage to be obviously rented out because so many people can stay here. You can have a big family holiday. I just think it's really, really nice. And yeah, so it had, I think it have one less bedroom than it has the real cottage that we stayed in. But this one has 3 bedrooms upstairs, and then there is a annex to the right, which you'll see kind of looks like stables. So they've converted the stables into an annex, which I think I made bigger. But I kind of thought that I'd make it a full, because I never actually went inside the annex. That's where the best man stayed, So, and I kind of made it a full functioning, can be completely separate basically, which I think it was, but I'm not fully convinced I had a kitchen. But anyway, I added in a kitchen, even if there isn't one in real life. And yeah, so I kind of figured if you wanted to play with this lot, not necessarily as a rental lot, which I had in my mind, I built this as a vacation lot, as in it's not personalized, it's very functional inside, lots of beds basically, and yeah, not lots of clutter basically. That's how I feel. That's what I consider something to be not just residential. It's for a vacation rental. But you could use that as, say, your sim family lived there and then maybe they rent out the annex or something like that. So it just kind of makes it fully, it can be a completely separate thing, which I think is kind of useful to have. I don't know. So yeah, it's kind of what we go with. But I think there was, like I said, another bedroom on the ground floor and coming off the kitchen. And then also you'll see obviously once we get inside, that there is this kind of separate lounge area, which was quite cool because they'd set it up with day beds. So there were sofas, but also beds. So then again, you could fit even more people in. So really, you could honestly sleep so many people. I'm trying to like count in my head right now, like how many people you could sleep in this cottage, but it was a lot. It was a lot, which, yeah, it's kind of nice, really. And the other thing that's kind of like a bit different as well is because, I mean, I'm building a build inspired by the Cotswold, which, I mean, automatically in my mind, I'm thinking Hempford-on-Bagley, but I've actually built this in Windenburg, and that is because this kind of countryside-y bit where it has that like lovely road going through, it just like lent itself so well to this lot, because this building is kind of like on the side, if you know what I mean. The front door isn't at the front of the lot. You kind of come down a long drive, and then the front of the house is along the drive. So it really worked having this road, and then it, that's how the road was. And then the cars would just turn into the drive. So it kind of fit really nicely. I felt like Hempford-on-Bagley was too rural for this, because like I said, although it is in the Cotswolds, which is obviously rural, it was within a little town, so it wasn't like fields. Do you know what I mean? So I felt like it kind of worked, but yeah, I feel, yeah, like, I don't know. It was definitely in my mind a Hempford-on-Bagley build, but we've gone for Windenburg, which I kind of like because I feel like I've built in Hempford-on-Bagley a lot recently. It's just nice to mix it up a little bit, So yeah, there was this super long drive, and then obviously it comes out into this like bigger bit where you can park your cars, and it's just like how many cars could fit here? Like honestly, like it was so. This is like really surprised me when we first turned up, because I just had in my mind like a really lovely cottage, but I didn't think it would have all these like the space, because you imagine we all sat outside. It was really, really sunny as well, which was really lovely, because we have had weeks of rain, like just constant rain, and then literally the weekend was so sunny, and then it's gone straight back to rain. But it worked for the wedding because it was such a lovely weekend, and people could be outside. So yeah, really, really nice vibes. That's why I just felt like I had to do it, just had to do it. And the wedding itself was so lovely as well. I mean, I don't remember the last time I went to a wedding. I haven't been to a wedding for a long time. And it was really cool because it was in this converted barn. And I'll be honest, I also wanted to build that as well. And maybe one day I will, because it was a really cool wedding venue. Although I don't think you could do it justice on The Sims, because the sort of area where you get married is in front of this huge fireplace. And I just don't think you could like recreate that as well in The Sims, But yeah, so really, really lovely. And then it kind of had this, because it was a converted barn, but from the outside it still looked really rusticy, like really, like even when you're driving up to it, like it doesn't seem like much. Do you know what I mean? Like it looks like it's still part of an old farm building or something. And then you kind of come around the other side, and it's got this like big glass kitchen built on the side, which is really cool, so you can see the chefs and thing cooking in there. And then there's this other sort of building attached to the barn, which has kind of, I think it's got a specific name, but the roofs that are kind of like lots of gabled ends but vaulted ceilings, so it makes a really nice shape on the inside. And that's where the meal was. And this was like the first time I've ever been to a wedding which didn't have round tables, which I think is just the norm. But yeah, it was really cool. They had basically one really, really long table, which was the head table, and obviously they had the bride and groom in the middle, and then their family kind of filtered out, if that makes sense, like down the line. And then there was these kind of other tables coming off that long table, if that makes sense. So if you imagine like a capital letter E, this is the only way I can like think of how to describe it. If you think of like a big capital letter E, and maybe like two of them attached to each other, so you've got like one long line and then shorter lines coming off it. It was like that, which I thought was really cool. And it just meant, I don't know, I felt like everyone was closer than, rather than being these sort of like separated like tables of 8 or 10, and you're kind of just stuck in those tables. Yeah, even though I'll be honest, like I didn't mingle with other tables, but I didn't really have a need to. So, but it felt more together. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone was kind of there together. So it meant when they were doing the speeches and things, everyone was much closer to each other. It wasn't like, you know, there was some tables that were really far away from the head table because we were all joined to it. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of cool. And the other thing actually they did, which was, again, something I've never had at a wedding before, was the food was not like an individual plate. So rather than having like a starter, main, dessert of your own, they brought out sort of like a variety of different foods and put them on the table. So there was obviously multiple of each. And then you could kind of pick and choose what you liked. And so it's kind of like not a buffet, because it wasn't like away from, you know, it wasn't like a separate thing that you had to go up and like load your plate up. It was on the table, which was really nice. And yeah, it meant you could actually eat the food that you'd really like. And also, weirdly, definitely ended up having more food than you would if you just had an individual plate, if you know what I mean. I always find at weddings, the meals are you get very small portions, but that's just because it's kind of fancy, and that's just how I always think fancy food is. Like you get small, it always looks small, do you know what I mean? Whereas this way, you could just like, you know, have however much you want, and there was so much, so yeah, I ended up eating a lot of food as well, to be honest. But I thought that was really cool. I don't know what you guys think of that. I've never seen that at a wedding before, been to a wedding that's like done that before. I just thought it was kind of a different way of doing food, but it kind of worked. Because then you can, like I said, you can have a little bit of everything. And what's really cool is then there's multiple dessert choices, which I thought was amazing, because then, yeah, you can have a little bit of something different, you know, rather than just one dessert, which I always find hard, like choosing one dessert. Not that you'd choose anyway if it was like a set menu, but like the fact that you can have a little bit of, not even a little bit, you can have a whole version of every single pudding if you want. Do you know what I mean? I was like, thought it was really cool. I don't know what you guys think of that idea, but I've never seen that before, and I really rate it. I thought it was really cool. But yeah, so definitely at some point when I feel like we need another wedding venue, definitely going to do something inspired by that, because that was really lovely. So we're finally on the inside now, and you'll see that it's quite simple. Like I said, it's a very simple layout. It's not anything like fancy. The one thing I do wish we could do though is, because it's making cottages in The Sims, although it is much easier now with a lot of the items and like wallpapers and things we have, I still wish you could get that kind of like squished feeling. Do you know what I mean? Like I always feel like when you're in a cottage with very low ceilings, it'd be so nice to just create that kind of like snug feeling. I try really hard to do that, and one way that I find helps is by putting like beams on the ceiling. That's kind of helps it feel lower, the ceiling, if you know what I mean. Obviously I guess the other option we could do is putting the floor, because this is obviously the lowest wall height, putting the floor on a platform, so your Sims could still get in and fit obviously in the smallest wall height with a platform. But I don't know, it's just, I don't want there to be steps up to it either, so it's difficult. So yeah, I settle with doing the sort of beams by using the the spindles. So yeah, I don't know, I think it kind of adds to that feel, if you know what I mean. And you'll notice, well, I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but there is the kind of lounge room, like I said, that's off to the side, which we haven't put the furniture in yet, but that has a different wallpaper on the outside, which again is one of those things that looks a little bit weird on The Sims, but I did want to keep it like that, just because basically it's not that lovely stone. It's been obviously just done in a different style, and I found it quite unusual because basically there was more houses than attached. So this was a whole run of cottages all along this road. So this was adjoined to another one. And that was sort of made, you know, in the same style as the lounges, if that makes sense. So like the wallpaper on the outside of this lounge was like the rest of the houses on the road. And so it kind of, this part of the build actually looked like it wasn't part of this cottage, if that makes sense from the outside, but obviously it is. So I'm not really sure how that came about or why that has a different like finish, but it was the same on the room above it as well. So it just looked like it was not part of the same cottage. Maybe it wasn't. I really don't know. But yeah, I just thought that was a little bit unusual. So I wanted to keep that in, although it does look a little bit strange in The Sims. I wanted to keep that, And I didn't, for that sort of lounge space, I kept it really casual, big TV in there, chill out space. Obviously we don't have day beds in The Sims, and I didn't want to put for example, the beds we have where you can pull down from the wall, which could be look like a sofa, and then you pull it down from the tiny living pack, because that just wasn't fitting the vibe. So it's just a lounge space. So like I said, that was classed as another bedroom almost. You could fit another 2 people in there, 3 people in there maybe. And then I've gone for a really luxurious bathroom down here, which I actually, again, this is something I changed because there was actually 2 toilets just to be super functional, having 2 separate toilets, because obviously if this house was full, then like I said, there could be so many people staying in this house, so you would need so many toilets. So there was just kind of 2 separate toilets there, and I just thought in The Sims that's a bit much. Didn't really need that, so I've just gone for a nice big bathroom for down here just to help with the upstairs. Upstairs there's another bathroom, and then there's a bedroom with an ensuite, which to be honest is more than enough bathrooms, but yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it helped. And then the kitchen was quite sweet, because the kitchen was probably the one room which felt like they'd kept really dated compared to the rest of the house. So the rest of the cottage was very, obviously there were so many fireplaces, so many fireplaces. Every wall I felt like had a fireplace. There was more fireplaces than I put in this lot. It was crazy. And everything was very tastefully done. The kind of, I don't even know what they called it, but they made it in keeping with the cottage, but it was obviously been modernised, and the furniture was really lovely and all that kind of thing. But the kitchen, I felt like they'd kept as it was, which, I don't know, made it feel, like I said, it was really sweet going in there. The tile and the cabinets were really wooden, and you could just tell they'd been there for a long time. So I kind of wanted to keep that. So I don't know, part of me feels like the kitchen, especially the tiles, I really love these tiles, especially in the deep red. They kind of might feel a little bit not in keeping with the rest of the house, but I kind of did that on purpose because I felt like the kitchen, like I said, was kept like that for whatever reason. Maybe they liked it too. Maybe they just wanted to keep that kind of rusticy, older vibes to it. And then, yeah, there was another bedroom off of the kitchen, but I just felt like that wasn't really necessary in The Sims. I went for a bigger annex, basically. I gave them loads of space so that it could be quite a luxurious separate part of the building. And then upstairs, I use the same tiles in all the bathrooms, which I know I often do that because I find the bathrooms are, unless, like I said, I know I've said this previously, they are really, really extravagant. They just can feel quite samey, and I always think if somewhere has been renovated, they might have, especially if it wasn't for themselves, because I think if you're renovating a house for yourself, you probably make each bathroom quite unique, how you want it to be, in terms of style-wise, tiles, colours. But if they've just kind of renovated this for, to rent it out, they might have just had someone in and just did the same thing in each bathroom. So that's kind of why I did that. And also I really love those tiles. I love the colour combinations. The bathroom was stunning. I really, really loved the bathroom. That's my husband. I kept taking pictures of it in all different lights because it was just the tile and the toilet and the bath and stuff. They were just so the suite. It's just really, really lovely. And it had one of those baths, which I'm not sure what they're called, but when they're they look built in, so they're, rather than obviously most baths are round. The actual bath bit is round, and then the tub, and then it's often covered with a side panel to make it not always look round, if that makes sense. Obviously some are kept round, so you'll see in this bathroom I put the really traditional bath because we just don't really have what they had in The Sims, and I feel like this was the kind of vibes of a cottage. But they had this bath, it just looked built in. I don't know how to explain it. Like they put paneling around it and they make the edge of the bath come right out, almost as if it's, made of like a stone or something. Do you know what I mean? It's just looked really built in, and it was like really, really, I just think those baths look really nice as well. As well as these type of baths that I put in. They're like really cool, aren't they? Like the freestanding baths are stunning as well, but the built-in, like, yeah, so lovely. Yeah, so this bedroom here is the like master suite, I'm gonna call it, and it is huge. I'll be honest, didn't need to be this big, didn't mean it to be this big, but here we are. And I felt like it needed more than just a double bed, so I ended up putting a like little travel cot in there because I feel like that worked. Get another bit of space in there, get another sim come in. But yeah, it feels quite empty, that room. That was the room that I was like, as well as the like lounge downstairs as well. They were just slightly bigger than I'd have liked, or they were as big as I'd like. But then when you start putting sim furniture in it, it's like, oh, like the beds look really small, because these rooms, let me tell you, the beds they had in these rooms were so big. Like, honestly, they were so big. They were bigger than any bed I've ever stayed in. I don't know what size they were. I don't even know what the biggest size bed is. But it was so big. And again, I was just like, can you imagine if we could get like big supersized beds in the Sims? That would be really cool. And they'd fill the space like better. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, so upstairs there's just like I said, the big master suite. It's got the ensuite and the travel cot. And then there's another double bedroom. And then a room with 2 single beds, just for, like maximum functionality. But yeah, not much clutter, not very personalised. Obviously, if you want to like use the lot for your family or whatever, you can add in there, personality and stuff. But yeah, in my mind, this is to be rented out. So it's just nice and like clean, basically. And then this is the big annex, which is built in what used to be supposedly stables. That's why I've kept those wooden doors there, but only the one on the far left is usable, which I see as like the front door to the annex itself. The other two are, I mean, from the outside they look like they're there, but they are hidden behind these big wardrobes, and then also there's gonna be like a washing machine and dryer. Just because it felt a bit weird having 3 doors into one room. Like it was a bit much, but I wanted to keep them on the outside to keep the kind of aesthetic, which is, I think that's what they had. They had like multiple doors, but like I said, I think because there was a bedroom coming off the kitchen of the main house that had then a door coming into it from the outside too. So that was one of the doors. And then Alex was just much smaller. And then I think 2 doors wouldn't look as strange, especially because, like I said, it's just proportions. The proportions in The Sims just aren't quite the same as real life. So even though, like, I mean, it looks fine from the outside, but on the inside, once you put furniture in there, just that one long wall with like small doors on it just looks a little bit strange, I don't know. Just needs lower ceilings. And it actually had such low ceilings to the point where the doors were really, really low. And like so many people were hitting their heads because they just weren't ducking further enough, because I just feel like people really underestimated that, like how low they were. Like literally everyone had to duck. Everyone had to duck to be able to get in the room. So yeah, a few people bumped their heads on the doors because they were so low. And then so really, really nice modern kitchen, modern shaker kitchen. So it's like tasteful. It's all very tasteful, but this is very modern renovated space for your Sims to stay or to be rented out or do whatever with, You can turn it into stables again, do whatever you want with it. And then a super luxurious bathroom, like a huge walk-in bathroom, like wet room with a massive double shower. Just, kind of fun. And then those lovely like bifold doors out into the little patio area, which is just quite simple. It's just got like a little table and a seat, because like I said, if this was just for this space is for kind of like a couple retreat, really, isn't it? Or just like one sim, or 2 sims or whatever. So it's just like nice and simple, a couple of chairs, barbecue, chill out space. And I do opt for putting 2 like of the kind of Land Rover type cars, just because every other car just looked kind of, It just didn't work with the vibes. I just wish there was some more normal looking cars, not so round, not so, you know what I mean? So yeah, they ended up with 2 Land Rovers, which is a lot. Anyway, we've come to the end. I'll leave you some screenshots and see you in the next one. Bye.